Hello everybody, how are you doing tonight? My name is Tucker.
My name is Jason.
And I'm Jason Harper.
And we are going to be presenting to you tonight two articles that were posted on eLearning. The first article is called The Brand Called You, and I will be presenting that. The second article is called The 4 Social Styles, and that will be split up between the two Jasons. Alright, so the first article basically was just talking about branding, how the whole world is branded. Everywhere you look, there's branding. But the most important brand of all is the brand called You. You are the CEO and head marketer of the brand called You. And it's important that you do your own marketing. You need to think of yourself as a free agent in an economy of free agents. So you need to constantly be touching up your work samples, doing projects, adding to your resume, stuff like that, so that you're in a better position next year or next season whenever you're a free agent. So the thing you need to know is everyone has a chance to stand out. You can do this a lot of ways. One way that we all just did this was make our POP websites. This is branding. Branding is a promise of value that you'll receive, so whenever potential employers look on your website, they can see the quality of your work, the quality of your resume, your writing, all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of a promise of what they'll receive if they hire you. Another thing to think about is email. Email is personal branding. It's kind of like the same as the website, your name. So I don't know about you guys, but whenever I have 20 emails in my email, I don't go and open them by the order they're received. I look at who sent them, and if I place a higher value on that person's name, then I will read that one first. So the name of the email sender is every bit as important as the brand. It is a brand. All right, so the article is saying, starting today, you are a brand. So you got to ask yourself, what is it that my product or service does that makes it different? So this is like you want to differentiate yourself on your website. You get things done on time. Are you the type of person who's really high quality work? Do you have presentation skills? Things like that. You also need to ask yourself, what have you done lately to stand out? Something that we've all done lately to stand out is make our own websites. What better way to stand out than build your own personal website? Things like LinkedIn and all that stuff. You've got to stand out. No matter how beefy your set of skills, you still have to market your brand. You gotta stay marketing. So how to market this brand? There's virtually no limits of how to market your brand. The first stage would be gaining visibility. The reading suggested doing this by, start small, maybe write an editorial column on a local newspaper, volunteer to speak at conferences, maybe teach at community college. Any kind of visibility is good. Visibility is important because visibility has a funny way of multiplying. The hardest part is getting started. That's always the hardest part for me. I hadn't had a LinkedIn the past week, but once I started it and I did it, I couldn't help but ask myself, why didn't I do this years ago? And so once you get started, you have a track record, and this is important because once you have a track record, you got to remember that everything you do matters. Everything you say, everything you do or don't do, everything you post on social media, on the internet, it's all digital. So all resumes, there's no more old-fashioned resumes. It's all going to go digital. There's no more vertical or ladder in the career field. You got to think of the career field like a checkerboard. You can move horizontally, diagonally, forward, sometimes backwards, unfortunately. So you just got to constantly be marketing yourself. The brand, it's not Apple, it's not Dell or anything. The brand that should be most important to you is the brand called. And here's Jason to talk about the 4 social styles.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about our next article. This one called 4 Social Styles. And as we go through these styles, a lot of you might recognize them because you might have encountered people with these styles. The first style we're going to talk about is the driving style. This person with this style is a very driven person. He's very determined. They're very determined. How they act towards others. They don't openly show feelings. They're more worried about work. They're constantly on the go. They're very task oriented. When it comes to time, they don't like wasting any. They don't like just having free time. They want to always be doing something. And then even when it comes to decisions, they like to be provided with all the information available and then make their own decision. They'll never go to someone else and ask them for their opinion. They always want to be in charge, be driven, and make their own decision. So when I saw this style, I immediately thought of my first boss at my job. His name was Tony. He was a very driven guy. He was very task-oriented, very work-oriented, always wanted results. He rarely talked to us. If he did talk to us, it was about getting a task done or something like that. And that's just how he was. So numbers-wise, he was a great boss. Our store was always like in the top of its region. We were always on top of everything. He had inventory and everything like that. The only drawback to this, I guess, this style was we had high employee turnover. There's never like a friendly environment established because he was, I guess, so unsocial. He was more focused on the task at hand and actually, coming together as a work team and instilling that like attitude between the work. So a lot of employees left like as the time I was there, and I noticed that. So the next style I'm going to talk about is expressive style, and I guess these are like really like complete opposites of each other. In this situation, how they act towards other people is they approach situations in a very casual manner. They're very laid back. When it comes to time, they're worried less about their time and they're more worried about like social interacting and having a conversation instead of actually getting their work done. And when it comes to decisions, these types of style values the opinions of others rather than like trying to get the information available to themselves and making their own decisions. They just want to kind of have other people do this decision for them. So it's really funny because 2 months of my job, we hired another employee, and he actually expressed this kind of style. He was he always came in, he always was wanting to talk a lot more than he did actually work. Often he would be holding like conversations with my boss, but you can really tell he didn't want to talk to him because he was giving him like one-word answers and it's kind of really focused on what he was doing. So I guess what I wanted to say is like between these two styles, like you kind of see both extremes. So you need to meet somewhere kind of in the middle, so that you take aspects of working hard from your driven side, and also at the same time being able to create a social environment as well, without sacrificing work. We can hand it over to Jason for the next one.
I'm Jason Brown. I'm going to be talking to you about the amiable styles and the amiable styles. With amiable styles, you're dealing with people who are very extroverted, typically very people-oriented. They like to collaborate. This with some cultures, they're very cooperative. They're very slow. A lot of their work styles are very slow. They're not very disciplined. They get easily distracted. And they like to socialize with others. And I have a lot of friends that I think fall into this category. And they tend to make their decisions based on risk. They're very risk avoidance, very risk averse. They like to avoid confrontations. Their value system is based more on interrelationships with people. So they're going to try, whenever there's a confrontation, to either ease hostilities or make actions that will maintain their personal relationships. And with that, I'll go to the analytical styles. Now, the analytical style, I consider myself more of an analytical style person. They seem distant normally from most other people. I don't think I'm distant, but typically an analytical person will be distant. They're very cautious about who they make friends with. They're cooperative as long as they have the freedom to work with their particular style or their particular systems. This I know I definitely fall into. Whenever I'm doing projects or work, I want to do it my way because I understand my way and what I'm capable of doing. Best use of the time, they're very disciplined. They act very slow but very methodical because they want to be right. And the way they approach decision making is based on facts and information. And you want your evidence to validate your future outcomes. So any evidence or research that you come up with while you're working, you want that to validate what you're doing. With that, we will go to the quiz. Question number 1. We are all blank in the economy of blank. Visibility has a funny way of blank. The hardest part is blank. Number 3. What do you still have to do regardless of your skill set? Number 4. Driving style people are more oriented in achieving blank rather than keeping relationships /people. Number 5. What is one way amiable people approach decision making?
Thank you.